Hey, so if you want to support this podcast, if you've been listening for a while and you want to chip in, or if you are a new listener and you just want to be a supporter, check us out on Patreon. That's www.patreon.com/tinyleaps. I'll see you there. In this episode, I want to give some advice to all the new graduates out there. Get excited because this is Tiny Leaps. Big change, big change. Welcome to another episode of Tiny Leaps, Big Changes, where I share simple strategies you can use to get more out of your life. My name is Greg Clunis, and in this episode, I want to share a little bit of advice that I received growing up that I really honestly believe is a massive reason that I am where I am today. And I just... There's so many of you that are graduating either high school or college, graduating into sort of the next stage of your life. Maybe you're changing jobs. Maybe you are quitting your job and starting a business. Maybe you're just sort of finally committing to that goal you've always wanted. Whatever the big shift that's happening for you is, there's a lot of fear around it. Particularly, there's a lot of fear around, is this thing possible? Can I do this? And the truth is, you can't. But hear me out here. When I say you can't, I mean this version of you. Because in order to make a change in your life, in order to accomplish something, to get to that like end piece of it, there is a journey attached. That journey's job is to change you, to create the version of you that is capable of accomplishing the goal, right? So you, as you currently are, cannot accomplish your goal, whatever that might be. But there is a journey ahead of you that will create the version of yourself that can. And so a lot of this for me comes from when I was younger. Or actually, let me back up just a tiny bit here. So something that people tell me a lot, people that know me well, people that don't know me well, I get told quite often that I am quote unquote charismatic. And I always laugh when I get that because when I was younger, I definitely was not. It's not a trait that I had. It's not a skill that I had. It's not a talent that I had. The ability to present and share my thoughts clearly and capture a room and so on and so forth. Like those things were not something I was good at naturally. And I remember being young, maybe 8 or 9. I was at a party with my father. And it was a family party, extended family. I don't even remember like whose house it was or anything like that. Like very extended family. I'm not sure that I've seen them again. But we were sitting in the backyard and there was music playing. There were people talking, people dancing, just like enjoying their lives. And my dad, I was sitting next to him and he pointed at this guy. I think it was one of his cousins. And he said, that guy is really charismatic. And I remember asking him, what does that mean? Trying to understand, like, what does he mean by that? And where the conversation ended was with me asking my father, is it possible to become charismatic? Or is it something you have to be born with? And I remember this conversation so clearly because of what he told me. So I asked him, Dad, I'm not charismatic. Is it possible to become charismatic? And he looked at me and he said, yes. He said that being charismatic was something you had to work towards. It was a skill you could build. And that stuck with me. And for the rest of my life, up till now, it helped me to understand that who I was then was not the person who could do the things I wanted to do. Because even back then, I knew I wanted to speak on stages. I knew I wanted to present information. I knew that I wanted to be in the media, to share things, to get in front of people, to perform. I knew that that was the direction I wanted to go, even back then, back when I was 8 or 9. But I also knew, and I could tell, I could feel that I couldn't do that. Who I was could not do that. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the skills. I wasn't funny. I wasn't the guy in the room, the kid in the room that everyone was proud of and paid attention to. That was my cousins. That was my friends. It was never me. And so that night when he told me being charismatic is something you can earn, something you can gain, it sparked something, and it sat with me, and it started to drive every decision that I made. It got me to join the band and the choir and musical theater and regular theater and audition for an agent and become an actor and do short films and make things and start businesses. It got me, whenever I felt that gut feeling of nervousness, to take action on it, to do the thing that terrified me so that I could learn how to navigate it, so that I could learn how to be better in those situations. And over time, I'm 27 now. This journey, let's say, started when I was 8, so almost 20 years. I was able to develop charisma. I was able to develop a performance style. I was able to develop the ability to step out in front of a crowd and entertain them. And so the advice I want to leave you with from this, it's not about being charismatic. It's about the journey you are about to take. Everything in life, everything you are trying to accomplish right now is the end result of a journey. It's not a talent that you are inherently born with. It's not a skill that you just happen to have. It is a journey that you have to take to become that person. You just graduated college, and guess what? 10 years ago, you were on the journey to become a college graduate, to learn the skills, to have the friends, to make the relationships, to do the things that you can now do as a college graduate. But every journey ends at the beginning, the starting line of the next journey. And so you are on the next journey, and you may not know exactly what you want to do. You may not know exactly who you want to be, but it is your job on this journey to figure those things out. So I have 3 very concrete pieces of advice for you. Number 1, start to think about who it is you want to become. Life is either going to happen to you or it's going to happen for you. The difference is whether or not you are purposeful with your actions, your decisions, your thoughts, the time you spend. If you just wake up and subconsciously go through life, then life will happen to you. But if you wake up and you choose the path you want to take, even if it's the wrong path, you can always change paths. As long as you make a choice, a decision, life will happen for you. So that's step number 1. Start thinking very deeply about who you want to become. Step number 2 then is to filter every decision, every thought, every action, every choice through that lens. If you have now decided, I want to become a business owner, then you need to start taking the actions that'll get you there. If you want to become a speaker, you need to start taking the actions that'll get you there. If you want to become an author, take the actions that'll get you there. Start filtering everything you do through the lens of who it is you want to become. Step 3 is to be honest. You have to be honest. I've spent so much time just in the last 4 or 5 years learning more about who I actually am versus who it is I thought I wanted to become. Because there's a difference between the image of yourself, the person you think, hey, that's who I want to be, and the talents and skills you actually have. Now, That distinction between the two doesn't mean that just because you don't have X talent or X skill that you can't do Y. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you need to be honest about who you actually are and then make a decision. And this is step 4, to embrace that version of yourself or to change that version of yourself. And the truth is, if you want to accomplish any goal in the world and you want to do it in the least strenuous way possible with the most amount of happiness, you should always embrace who you actually are and then build the process for achieving that goal around who you are. The journey then is in becoming a better version of who you are rather than changing who you are. So as you step into this next stage of your life, just remember that life is what you make it to be. It's that simple. Figure out who you want to become. Filter your actions and your choices through that lens. Be honest with who you actually are, and then embrace that person so that you can become a better version of them rather than changing who you are. And if you can do that, just like me, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, you'll find yourself in exactly the place you were supposed to be. And so with that said, I've been Greg Clunis. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe wherever you are consuming this, whether it is in audio on iTunes, Spotify, Google, or on YouTube over at youtube.com/Greg Clunis. Wherever you are watching this, click that subscribe button. If you want to support the show, if you loved this episode, you want to help us to put out more, to put out better, to hire a team and create something that can change the world, head over to patreon.com/tinyleaps. That's patreon.com/tinyleaps. There are 2 different levels to support. $5 a month will get you supporter access with a bunch of different perks, and $15 a month will actually get you a signed copy of the Tiny Leaps Big Changes book. I'll sign it personally, write your name in it, sign it to you, mail it to you. So head over to patreon.com/tinyleaps. I'll see you there. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember that all big changes come from the tiny leaps you take every day.